All right, we're live. It's the Android Headline Show. Tonight, this is episode 60, the big 6-0, which is not as exciting as the big 5-0, but whatever, we'll take it. 60 episodes, man, it's kind of hard to believe. But tonight is Thursday, May 22nd. I am joined tonight by Nick and Alex from the site. You guys want to say what's up?
What's up?
Sure. How's it going?
My name's Jeremiah, but we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm really excited. There's a lot going on, a lot of news this week, a lot of stuff leading up to Google I/O. Yes, that schedule came out, so I want to kind of delve into that a bit. So I'm pretty excited about. I think I forgot to put that on the agenda, but that's one of the most important things I want to talk about. Because I'm a professional. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Google and Apple dropping their patent lawsuits. So this was another really big story this week. Was pretty huge. Google and Apple have agreed to stop all patent litigation. Specifically, this was with originally was Apple and Motorola. Since Google bought Motorola and technically still owns them, Apple has agreed to drop all the pending suits, anything that they've got going on with Motorola and hence with Google. So pretty exciting stuff. We've been seeing these companies battle back and forth for a long time. HTC signed a patent agreement. They're paying Apple. Motorola refused. Samsung, obviously, they have a different situation going on. But this was interesting because they've agreed to stop any litigation. They've also agreed moving forward to work on patent reform together. But a key piece of it is that they're not working out or signing any kind of cross-licensing agreements. So all this is they're just saying we're not going to fight each other in court anymore. They're not agreeing to license each other's patents. They're basically saying that they in the future may use each other's patents, but if that happens, they're not going to take each other to court. They're just going to kind of look the other way. So I thought it was pretty interesting. What do you guys think?
I was stupidly happy about this because as anybody who's been in this, I don't know, little microcosm of the industry for a while now knows, these friggin' lawsuits are so ridiculous. I mean, the patents alone that some of these companies hold, particularly a lot of Apple's patents, are ridiculous. I mean, they have patents on rounded corners, on multi-touch, on clicking on a link to open a phone number in the phone app. I mean, I don't know how they got some of these in the first place. They're so generic that I can't even believe anybody would allow them to use them. But of course, now hopefully we don't have to deal with this crap anymore.
Right.
Yeah, there's just so many patent lawsuits and trials, and of course Samsung and Apple are the bigger ones because there's so many. They've had like 2 or 3 different trials in different countries. I think Samsung lost all the ones in the U.S., but they won the ones outside the U.S., I think.
Yeah,
Samsung won. They won a couple in Germany, and
yeah.
So it went globally. It was like a 50-50 split.
Yeah, see, I was a little more okay with Apple bringing up, I guess, the original Galaxy S and some of the first big Samsung Android phones because they really did look like iPhones. I don't really know how else to say that. What?
Especially with TouchWiz with the grid.
Yeah, it was just they really did not try to differentiate. But, after that, I mean, you don't look at any Galaxy phone and say, oh, well, that's clearly an iPhone. I mean, they don't even look anywhere near the same other than being a big slab with a screen.
And a
So-
physical home button. That's about it.
Yeah.
And the home button's not even the same shape, so you can't even really say that.
Nope. So I don't know. I'm glad to see that this is hopefully behind us, at least between Apple and Google. I don't know. Between Samsung and Apple might be a whole different story.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But yeah, so we'll then you're kind of moving forward. We'll see what happens with that, but that's a good thing. These companies are not duking it out in court anymore. So even if yeah, for now, and maybe that's why they didn't sign any patent, any cross licensing agreements for their patents, is to leave the door open for any other situations that might arise in the future. But it sounds like they want to be done with it. Apple is kind of backing out of these lawsuits. Now that, honestly, now that Steve Jobs is not at the helm, kind of spearheading his quote-unquote thermonuclear war with Android, Apple realizes that the only people who are winning here are the lawyers who are taking home giant legal fees. And, especially after this Samsung ruling that they were only going to get, what, $114 million or something like that instead of $1.5 billion.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, kudos to the lawyers. Nice job, guys.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I know some of them got paid like $1,000 an hour, or some probably more. I think there were some that were like $1,500 an hour.
Oh, dude, I'm sure.
I'll work for that.
10, 20 grand in a day.
Yeah.
So,
I'll go work for Apple for that much.
for a couple days, and then I'm going to take a couple years off. But yeah, so that was good news. A bit of good news there. Google is now also, and this was another piece of big news in the Google-Apple rivalry. Google is now the quote-unquote most valuable brand. Apple, for the longest time, has been considered the most valuable brand, according to this Millward Brown survey. So they publish a world's top 100 list of companies that are considered the most valuable, and it's big names that we're all familiar with, like Google and Apple and Samsung and HTC and IBM, so Chinese companies like Baidu, but Google is now on top. They have unseated Apple, so now it's not just market share, it's dollars. They are the most valuable brand in the world.
Just add dollars.
Based on, yeah. Which, none of that really means anything to me or you, but if you're really that much of a Google fanboy, or you just hate Apple that much, is what it is. But let's talk a little bit about the Google I/O schedule. So the first thing, the schedule was published almost a week ago. Let's see. I'm looking for the exact date here when it was published. I guess it really doesn't matter, but I want to say it was about a week, the 16th, 15th or 16th. And there are no Google Plus sessions, which was the first thing that I noticed. This time around, last year it was all about Google Plus and Chrome OS, and we saw a lot of stuff with Google Plus throughout the year. They had that event for all the new pictures, the Auto Awesome stuff towards the end of the year. We just saw an update, and we'll get into this a little bit more later on. But we just saw an update to the Google Plus app. Major update, changed the interface quite a bit, added Auto Awesome stories, which are really freaking great. But there's no sign of Google Plus on the event schedule for I/O. There's a lot of I'm looking for the exact terminology here on the site.
I was gonna say there was one section that said what's new in Android, wasn't there?
Yes, and there's going to be a focus on Android, which we didn't see as much last year at I/O. So
basically all we saw with Android was Google Play Services and Play Games.
right, so this year there's like 7 or 8 Android specific sessions. The keynote, there's only going to be one, and it's only going to be 2 hours. The conference this year is only 2 days. I know last year it was a 3-hour keynote, and in years prior there were two. They do 2 keynotes. They do two 2-hour or 2 3-hour keynotes.
If there was 2 2-hour keynotes, then they put it down to 3 hours last year, and a lot of people said it was really long, like the ones that were actually at the keynote. So I guess that's why they put it down to 2 hours.
Yep. So
yeah, I mean that's a long time to listen to somebody talk about stuff on stage.
And it's a long time to be live blogging and taking pictures and stuff. Especially since the internet's not going to be that good.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure. But yeah, right after the keynote. There's I think it's right after the keynote. There's a session called "What's New in Android," which really tells us that they're going to announce some new things in Android. Probably Android Wear. There's an Android Wear session called Android Wear: The Developer's Perspective. There's a session called The Art Runtime that actually is taking place the same time as Android Wear. Some Chrome OS stuff. I'm looking on day one
stuff.
here.
Yeah, they got a bunch of casting.
A bunch of Chromecast stuff, a bunch of Google Play games.
The cloud platform stuff is interesting to me too, because they're talking about, they have a couple of different cloud ones, but the one that I thought was really interesting was it says making your cloud apps Google fast. So I'm wondering if they're going to start pulling kind of what Microsoft has been trying to do on the Xbox One with cloud computing, and then sending that data through the network.
Could be.
I don't know what they'd use it for, but it's an interesting idea. I'm sure they have something if they have a session for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is interesting. I hadn't seen that one before. There's a session called Hack Your Glass Deep Dive. So some Google Glass stuff, specifically about hacking it and doing some cool stuff with it. Some of the Google Plus sessions have been there are sessions, I forget the exact terminology, the exact name of it. I'm looking for it now. But it's like sign in, Google Sign In or Google Life Sign In, something like that. See if I can find it. That's cloud platform, big data.
Yeah, we've had weird issues with Google sign-ins lately, particularly if you're running art. Like there's been a couple of games that are completely broken if you try to log into Google Play Games.
Really?
So maybe they'll talk about that there. Who knows?
Could be. Could be.
Or maybe that's because art is still beta.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's half the battle there.
Like all the Play Store reviews you see giving people 1 star because it doesn't run on art.
Yep.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really surprised that Google Plus is gone, but it's an interesting change. With Vic being gone, Vic Gundotra he headed up the Google Plus team, and now he is gone. And so Google's changing they say they want to change Google Plus to be more of a platform and less of a social network, and they're doing so much with this recent update with Auto Awesome and doing Auto Awesome stories. That stuff was in the works when Vic Gundotra was still there.
Yeah, because he hasn't been gone for that long.
Right. So they were already working on that update before he left. But
I'm just wondering if maybe they don't have a whole lot to talk about with Google Plus, or maybe they're going to add sessions in later on because they've done that before too.
They do, yeah. They usually add sessions as we get closer, and they don't want to give away too much. That's why this Android session is called "What's New in Android." They don't want to tell us exactly what's new.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They might change the name of that session before, right before the keynote or something, right before the session.
Yeah, because they've put like different things in their schedule before, like basically telling us what is new in Android.
Yeah.
Everybody goes crazy writing up posts about it.
And so we already knew that Android Wear was coming. We actually saw the Moto 360 pricing get leaked out in some fine print in a contest to win one. So that should be priced at $249. But I was interested also to see that there was no mention of Android TV. Not even a hint of it. There's nothing about any kind of TV or living room or now that stuff might get added, but this has been it was a pretty big leak when it hit The Verge at first, and we were all talking about it, and then we saw the code. I think we talked about it last week or maybe the week before for the new hardware.
Interesting. Yeah, that was last week.
Last week, talking about the set-top box that was Google, and now none of that's showing up at I/O on any of these sessions, or it's all about Android Wear and this new Google sign-in that there is, they're replacing Google Plus with the sign-in stuff, Glass, but no sign of that Android TV. So
I almost wonder if there's not enough time to, put it into the 2-hour keynote, and maybe they'll announce it at a separate event later on, or even at the fall event with, the next version of Android. Well, there'll be 2 versions ahead of what we're on right now, but I don't know, because obviously they have something in the works, seeing as it was in the Android 4.4.3 changelog.
yeah,
And it clearly says set-top box, and it was made by Google. Because there's a HTC Nexus, I think it was Nexus 8, that's in there too, pretty much was confirmed too.
yeah,
You might see that at Google I/O.
Yeah, and that tablet announcement, or there's no mention of the Nexus 8 or anything with Nexus devices, but we might see that announced too. They might add that in.
Yeah, or they might do another breakfast with Sundar to do Chromecast 2.0 or something.
Yep, or at least announce that tablet, and maybe they'll announce Android TV instead of Chromecast. They'll announce the Nexus 8 and the Android TV.
Chromecast TV.
Yeah.
So they want Chromecast to be like one of those TV features that's on every box. Like was it DLNA, Wi-Fi, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and Chromecast doesn't really need to be updated. It does what it does fine. It's not like a gaming console or something like that where it needs new stuff. It streams 1080p video, and until a couple of years from now when 4K becomes a standard, there's really not much need for change on that end.
Yep.
So they can probably keep that thing the same, and then just like you said with the Android TV, add the protocol to that. Sorry.
Yeah, and more apps and stuff too. But yeah, you're right. There's need to be a big update. But yeah, interesting stuff. We'll kind of keep you updated on I/O and the schedule and stuff that gets added as we go. But yeah, no Android TV. Lots of Android Wear. Probably not. We might see Android 4.4.3 just before I/O. I'm thinking if there's anything that we need for Android Wear support, they'll push that out with the 4.4.3 update, and so that might come out like the beginning of June, first or second week in June, and then I/O at the end of June. They'll announce Wear.
Yeah, it can't be far because it already hit AOSP, didn't it?
The changelog did. I don't know about the actual code for it.
Well, yeah, not the actual code, but the fact that it exists is already on there.
Yeah.
It's also being listed as on devices that are leaking out, like the Galaxy S5 Prime.
Yes.
The HTC One M8 Prime is with it. I believe there's some Nexus 5s and 7s with it on there. So it's just about done. Even Sprint said it was coming to the Nexus 5, about a month ago, and then they pulled it when it didn't happen.
Yep. They were a little ahead of the curve on that, but
I'm guessing Google found like a critical bug they had to fix and pulled it.
Probably something.
Because there's already a bunch of bugs that's supposed to be fixing, so they don't want it causing more.
And we've had that happen before.
Yeah.
Last year they forgot to put December in the calendar.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite ones.
Sometimes
I
you
think
leave
that
out the
was
whole
to
month.
get away from 2012 because it was coming out in That was what? Jelly Bean 4.2?
Yep.
To get out of December, was it 2012?
Yes. Yeah, it was awesome.
I think that was on purpose, like an Easter egg.
It's
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
I don't know. At the very least, you could pass it off as one.
Yeah.
And that we've got a question here too. When is the next Nexus updates? When are the next Nexus updates supposed to roll out again? And so we'll see that with Android 4.4.3. Those will be the next set of updates that push out the Nexus devices and everybody else at some point.
Basically, when Google says it's ready.
Yep.
Because you don't need carriers.
Yep. So, if I had to guess, I'd say we would see that in a week or two, maybe 3 weeks before I/O, just to get that on devices before Android Wear hits. But we may have to wait for it. We'll see. I'm just guessing on that one. Shift gears a little bit, because we've seen this story hit in a couple of places. VoLTE or Voice over LTE, or Volt or Volti, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I always said VoLTE. But T-Mobile is launching VoLTE in Seattle on 3 different devices, and Verizon has announced that they are going to be rolling it out this year. By the end of this year is what they're saying, and no hard time frame on it.
Verizon, basically what they're doing is flipping the switch and covering the whole country at once.
Yeah.
On pretty much every device that does XLTE, which is like their last 24 devices.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. And
they've had a really impressive rollout lately.
Well, Verizon...
AT&T is launching theirs tomorrow, so I think that's why T-Mobile did theirs today.
Yep. And Verizon has been testing and working on this VoLTE update since like June or July of 2013.
Yeah.
But rather than update it piecemeal, they pushed it off until they could roll it out to everybody everywhere. So,
you know what's weird that I didn't realize until I'm reading the comments on the T-Mobile one? There's no Galaxy S5 in that.
I noticed that when I was writing it. Just the Galaxy S3, Galaxy Lite, and LG G Flex. It's like no S5, no HTC One M8.
Weird. That's really weird.
yeah.
And I'm sure that hardware covers it. I mean, it does on Verizon, so why wouldn't it on any other one?
I mean, even the G2 covers it because it's the same internals as the G Flex, which covers it.
Exactly.
Only real difference is the screen and battery.
Yeah, no telling. I know I shared it with you guys in our little chat, but I think it was last week here in Orlando. I had a little voice over LTE thing, and I figured maybe they were testing it. So,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't think they announced any kind of timeline for rollouts to other markets, did they, T-Mobile?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So
I know they actually flipped the switch in Seattle like on Monday, from what I've heard from other people that are there, but they just announced it today. So I'm guessing that's, to say we were first.
Yeah. Yeah, entirely possible. Or maybe just flip the switch, make sure it works, and then be like, okay, yeah, we're good. Push it out,
Yeah, and they will. That's absolutely right. They'll turn it on and test it on a couple of devices and make sure that users in the area are getting it. So
yeah, I mean, this is sort of like what they did with HD Voice. It was the same thing. It was like 2 devices when it first came out, and now it's pretty much anything that's relatively new.
Yep. So, and this is exciting because it's going to pave the way for, now, whether or not the carriers will let this happen at a decent cost, but pave the way for data-only devices. Because your voice is all up to date, so it's basically, whoa. Pave the way for, it's basically VoIP.
Yeah.
Voice over LTE is completing that voice call over a data connection. So
And it finally means the end of all the 2G and 3G networks that are sitting out there still, and probably will be for a while.
Well, yeah, it's not going to end them because they'll still be in place. I mean, you'll see Verizon, I believe, has phased out their 1X RTT network at this point, which is 2G. It's still they still got to kick in some places.
I still
I,
see it every
I
now and
get,
then,
I got
but I
it.
have weird issues.
I got it the other day at home.
Yep.
It'll switch between 1X and 3G. No LTE.
Interesting. So it is still up and running. I know that they were. I'm trying to remember when I used to work for them what the timelines were. I wanted to say that they're.
I know I heard they're planning on shutting down CDMA by like 2017 or 2018 or something like that. I think Sprint had said they were going to be like right behind that, but I don't know if that's going to actually happen because I know they've fallen behind on their schedule.
Yeah, see, I thought their EVDO network was going to be up until like 2023 or something. But either way, this is exciting.
Like about last year.
And it's also exciting because. Yeah. Well, and it's exciting too because we've got 3 out of the 4 major carriers that have announced it and are rolling it out. So I'm sure Verizon will have the most, if they've got it covered on all of their 3G or 4, all of their 4G network, everywhere they've got LTE, they want VoLTE. They'll have more coverage.
Yeah,
but
they're
AT&T and T-Mobile
going to do nationwide all at once, and I'm guessing it's probably going to be on every XLTE supported device, and probably a few others too.
Yep.
Because right now T-Mobile is just using Metro PCS's VoLTE because they rolled theirs out in a few different markets. So I'm kind of surprised that it's only in Seattle right now. I figured it'd be everywhere that Metro PCS had it because they're just recycling right now.
Yeah.
Well, again, we know they're testing it in Orlando because Nick has seen it.
Yep.
So I'm sure there are other cities where they're testing it, but they probably only had it ready for commercial launch in Seattle right now, and they had to get something out because AT&T and Verizon were also pushing it out. So
yeah, it'll probably be here soon because Metro PCS had it here. Well, they probably still do.
So I'm interested to see once the technology is in place what it does with plans, carrier plans, and what if we see any data only plans roll out. I mean, minutes and text messaging are unlimited for most plans, now. So
I don't really see why Verizon and AT&T wouldn't. I mean, 'cause that's just more money in their pocket because of their data buckets.
And it's way less expensive for them to handle everything over data.
Yep.
Versus keeping these legacy networks running and having customers use them. It costs them a lot less. They can handle the bandwidth better, put more customers on smaller time slots with VoLTE than they can with anything else. So when they're making voice calls, shoving it all over data packets.
Yep.
But speaking of data packets, Google Fiber, easy transition there. Google Fiber has come out and said that they are not going to create a fast lane or prioritize packets, even if legally they're allowed to with this new net neutrality, with these new internet rules from the FCC, and some of the net neutrality stuff expiring. So, unfortunately, Comcast and Time Warner and Cox and whoever else is going to create fast lanes and in doing that create slow lanes. But Google Fiber has come out and said it's not what we're about. And it makes sense because Google is already petitioning and lobbying for net neutrality, strong net neutrality rules. But Google Fiber has officially come out and said we're not going to create fast lanes or prioritize any kind of packets or any data that's sent or received over our network.
Yep, and this is the sort of reason. What's that?
At 1 gigabit, I don't think you really need a fast or slow lane. You're still going to have plenty of bandwidth.
Well, it's more about types of traffic. and
Yeah.
extortion. I mean, honestly, it's extortion.
Yeah, it
Netflix
really is.
signed agreements with Comcast and now Verizon, and in order to get their traffic, in order to keep their traffic from being slowed. So that's straight up extortion. So Nice to Know Fiber isn't going to do that. We just need fiber in Richmond and Orlando and
everywhere.
Yep.
We just need it everywhere.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just glad they're around, and I'm glad they are who they are, because we need somebody. We're just getting raked over the coals constantly with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And Comcast, one of their points when they were talking about why they should be able to buy Time Warner, one of the things they pointed to, one of the competitors they pointed to was Google Fiber, which is available in all of 2 cities right now, with a couple dozen more in the works and being planned. But yeah, but yeah. So Google Fiber is getting a thumbs up. Google may be pushing ads to more services and more products. We could see ads in Google Glass soon. Ads are not, however, coming to Nest. So Google, a little bit of backstory here, because this was first we heard that Google may be adding ads to Nest, and then the Nest CEO came out and said, "No, just kidding, we're not. You'll never see ads on Nest." And so there was this big hullabaloo. Google filed a paper with the SEC informing them that they may be rolling ads out to other products and services in the future. They filed this back in December, and it just came out 2 days ago, on Tuesday. But they wanted to, at some point, serve ads on refrigerators, and this is quoting from the paper, quote, refrigerators, car dashboards, thermostats, glasses, and watches, to name just a few possibilities, end quote. And people freaked out. You're not ever going to put ads on my Nest thermostat, and I'm never going to put Google in my car or on my refrigerator and whatever. But the Nest CEO came out and said, what's his name? Tony Fadell,
Yep.
said, no ads on Nest. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Everything's going to be okay.
And he basically said that Nest is still like independently run by Google, like, or independently run, so it's not really part of Google, but it is. Like, they got financial backing, kind of like Motorola has. So unless you want ads on there probably won't be any anytime soon.
Right, and I don't understand why people freak out about this so much anyways. Google makes it very clear when they're using your data to sell ads. They're one of the more transparent tech companies. They let you know when they're using your information. They let you know what information they're using. They typically give you opt-outs. You can opt out of personalized ads. You can opt out of most of the privacy stuff. They're straightforward with it. When they roll out a new service, they understand that if we are going to be using all of their services and giving them all of our data, they need to let us know as much as they can legally. They can only let us know so much, but they're good about it. And the ads that they serve are not they don't really get in the way of whatever you're doing. The basic text ads on the side of a Google search, or the guidelines they put in place for Android apps that the ads can't take up but so much screen real estate, so they don't get in the way of your game that you're playing or the app that you're using, or like, they're an ad company. At the end of the day, you have to understand that when you're using Google services, they're gathering all your information and they're selling it. and you let them know how much you want to share or not. But you got to share something. You're getting an awesome service for free, whether it's Gmail or Drive or whatever Google service that you're using. So Google does ads, in my opinion. They do them well.
Yeah,
I have
the ads
personalized ads turned
in
on
Gmail
because I like seeing stuff that I might want to buy.
Yeah, the ads in Gmail now they're really good actually, considering promotions tabs. I don't usually see them.
Right, even that, they give you the option to shuffle the
Yeah.
ads into the promotion tab if you have the tabs turned on.
And I didn't see a real issue with ads on the thermostat, but maybe that's because I appreciate them since they are pay my paycheck every week. But I mean,
Look,
Google makes what 95% of their revenue from ads, so it's coming.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. I mean,
And
it may not be tomorrow, but because Gmail on Android took what 3-4 years to get ads.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many people I know would rather have a free ad-supported version of any given app than pay even $1 for it. I would
Yeah.
much rather have an ad. Who gives a crap? I mean, you see an ad how often? Maybe once every time you clear a stage, or maybe once every couple of stages, or whatever, however the game is designed. It's not like there's an ad in your face every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hear some people say like, well, they're not getting money from me from their ads because I'm not clicking on them. Well, not all ads are based on clicks; they're based on impressions. So just you seeing the ad, they can get paid. I think it's like per 1,000 impressions or something like that.
yeah, that varies depending on
Yeah.
how the company measures it. How many impressions they want to how many sets of eyeballs they want to reach. But yeah, it's not in the way of whatever you're doing, and you're getting something awesome for free. So Google serves ads differently to paying Google Apps subscribers. If companies are using the Google Apps services, it's different. So I honestly don't even have a problem with it on Nest. I know I don't have a Nest, but how often do you look at your friggin' thermostat?
The way I see it,
Like,
as long as it's not hindering your use of it, like you don't have to swipe off the ad, to change the temperature and stuff. What's the point? I mean, it's just like a screen sitting in your hallway or living room or something that you're probably not going to look at more than once or twice a day, anyways.
right.
Now, if it was like, an ad front and center on your phone, like on your home screen, that would be something different. But
There's a launcher that'll do that for you and pay you.
yeah, I
I
used to
forget
use
the
it.
name of it, but you
It
can get a
takes
couple
so
of
long to
pennies.
get a payout.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
takes like a year.
But yeah, that was, don't freak out about ads. But ads are not coming to your Nest if you own one, so don't worry about that either. Nest is, however, recalling a whole bunch of smoke alarms because they don't alarm you when there's smoke.
Yay!
Yeah, they're faulty. So it's like
So,
440,000 or something.
Yep.
So overpriced piece of electronics that does nothing that it's supposed to do.
Right. So I think they were recalling most, if not all of them.
Yeah,
So
that's all of them.
Yeah. So
So as far as I understand, the update fixes it because I have a friend that has one and he loves the thing, and I know it's picked up smoke for him before because
has it?
because there was one time where he was telling me like a little while after he got it, he was at work and all of a sudden he had an alarm on his phone go off and it says there's smoke in your house, and so he calls his wife and he's like, what the heck's going on? And she's like, oh, I burned cookies or whatever, but it worked. So I'm thinking that it's just, I don't know, there's a couple of ones that maybe were screwed up, and I know the particular issue they were having was the wave feature, where you can wave in front of it just to dismiss it instead of pushing the button, and that was screwing it up, and so I don't know exactly what the issue was, but somehow that was causing it to shut off instead of keep the alarm on when it was supposed to be on.
Okay, that makes sense. And I remember You talking about your buddy calling his wife because he got that notification on his phone. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but if you own one, feel free and send it back.
So they only sold 440,000 smoke detectors.
Right, and that's the other thing is they're giving away numbers on how many they sold by issuing the recall on all of them. But
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
They
they
probably
stopped
sold
selling
more.
them after a while. That's why.
They probably sold more thermostats though, because I think that's what everybody knows Nest for. Like I didn't know they did smoke detectors until Google bought them.
Yeah. I didn't know they did smoke detectors until I went over to this guy's house, and I was like, oh, what the heck is this?
Yep, pretty cool. But yeah, let's shift gears a little bit to some hardware news. We saw the HTC One M8 Prime leak out a couple times in the last couple of days. EvLeaks first tweeted a picture of the back of the device showing the camera bump, and it was like orange and gray color. The back of the phone was gray, and then the ring around the camera was orange. And then not too long after that, leaked out a animated GIF of the phone spinning, full 360-degree view. So it's the first real solid look that we've gotten from any of these, or of any of these Prime devices. It looks similar to the M8, a little bit different, a little bit. The corners are less rounded. The bezel is smaller. That big HTC bar on the bottom is smaller.
Yeah, but there's another one up at the top now.
It kind of reminds me of a cross between the One and the Butterfly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They need to bring the Butterfly over here.
It's great.
Not an exclusive on Verizon.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, please.
Or even the Desire 816, man. That's modeled after the Butterfly, but it's just a
All the
mid-range.
Desires that they've launched in the last couple of months, they all look really nice and all have front-facing speakers. And considering they're mid-range devices, they should be over here too. Put them
There's
on,
a reason. There's a reason they sold well, right?
Yep, and they still
they
are.
got like 1 million pre-orders in like a day for the 816, I think it was.
So the M8 Prime is supposed to have a 5.5-inch screen with a 2K display, 2560 by 1440 resolution, a Snapdragon 805 chipset, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of internal storage, an 18-megapixel camera on the back, which might be that bump is so big because they had to fit the bigger sensor in there. But it looks like, if you remember, on the original Incredible had that, or on the Evo had that circular metal bump.
Yeah.
The camera set up on, which sucked because that meant that the camera lens, the phone was resting on the lens anytime you laid it on its back, and the lens ended up getting scratched. But it is what it is.
Yeah, as long as they arrange it correctly, because like on the Note 3, it's the same way. I'm just looking at it now, and I don't notice that mine is scratched, but the lens, like they have this, this piece here, and then the lens is slightly recessed from that. So as long as they make some kind of lip around that thing, it should be okay.
Yeah, because that's how the S5 is. It's got a little bit of a bump on that back, but it's really not noticeable, especially if you put a case on there. But it does have like that lip to protect the lens.
Yep. The Snapdragon 805 though is something that we didn't have on the list that I actually wanted to talk about tonight. So I don't know if you guys want to run into that before we run into this G3 stuff.
That actually is. Let's mention the G3 stuff first because we were a little bummed about this with the G3. Yep. So we're still seeing more G3 leaks, and that actually should be announced next Tuesday, right? 27th?
Yep, 27th. It's at like 1 p.m. I think Eastern time, and it's in New York and San Francisco doing a joint event. Or actually, I think they're doing 3 events because there's one in London too.
They're doing one in London, and I believe they're doing other events in like Asia, Thailand, or South Korea, or somewhere. They're doing multiple events around the world. But
Which we'll probably see the official stuff leak out ahead of the announcement.
At like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, yeah, when it hits overseas.
Yeah, because they're not going to do all the places at the same time. Now, if it was London and New York, they could, but if it's Asia and other places too, they really can't.
Now, I didn't see, are they doing the London, New York, and San Francisco events at the same time?
I'm not sure. I know New York is like, I think it's around 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure about London and San Francisco, though. But I heard some people saying they're going to the San Francisco event, so I know there's one over there. Which that might just be like a hands-on type thing where you can go and get hands-on and get your reviewing and all that.
They could do them all at the same time because the London one would be at about 6 p.m.
Yep. And
then the San Francisco one would be at 11 a.m., 10 a.m. They're 3 hours behind.
Yeah, so Samsung did theirs in, was it Barcelona? And then they did like a hands-on thing in New York for like all the press that wasn't going over to Barcelona for the S5.
Yeah. But we saw this quick circle case leak out, which we had seen the front of this in somebody caught the G3 with this case on it in the wild.
Yep, a Subway or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then LG announced it last night, put out a press release and everything, so they showed off the phone with the case on it.
Yeah. Yep. So they know.
They did that with the G2 though, remember? The quick window?
Yeah.
The week before the G2 was announced.
They also like to put out press releases like, this is going to be the name of our next flagship. And we're going to drop Optimus from the Optimus G line and the Optimus Wu line.
Yeah.
Sometimes their press releases are like, why? What's the point?
Just hype. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. Trying to compete with Samsung's hype.
And so many of these leaks are controlled. Like they know that this stuff's leaking out. They're pushing it out themselves.
I'm pretty sure all of it is controlled leaks, except for maybe the lady that was on the subway with her G3.
Yeah.
The rest of them are all controlled because they're all coming out of the same places.
Yep.
It's all either EvLeaks or Phone Arena.
Yep. But the quick circle case is not anything new. It's like quick window stuff that we've seen on previous LG flagships and Samsung's, like the Note stuff. So
it just looks like Android Wear.
Yep, it does. And it seems like they're doing a little more with it too. They have like camera and a few other things that I don't think they had before.
I never used quick window on the G2 or even the G Flex, but I think the last time I used one of those cases was on the S4, and I didn't really like it that much because the flip case.
Yep.
It's just impossible to take pictures when you have that on and typing, especially on the dot view case on the HTC One, because the back isn't flat. So when you're holding and you're typing on your phone, it's a pain.
Yeah, if they design that hole correctly, though, then it shouldn't cover the camera, which is, I think, the only reason I like it better than a flip style case, because, like you said, you can't take pictures of them.
They should be able to, because the camera's in the center because of the back buttons, obviously.
Exactly.
And if it is a big circle, it should be able to line up perfectly. Just keep that little window clean.
We also saw a screen size comparison this week, which was interesting to me because the G3 is barely bigger than the S5.
It's got almost half an inch on it.
Half an inch bigger screen, right. And the M8 is actually taller than the G3. Now, the G3 is wider, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of expected the M8 to be taller because of the boom sound speakers.
Right.
But LG from the leaks, or the media event they had on, I think, Tuesday in Korea, where they pretty much announced all the specs of the device, it's not that much bigger than the G2 was, but the bezels are like half the size.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
And that's why they moved one of the design decisions. They moved the volume rocker to the back and the power button to the back. Was to clear up
when you're holding your device, your fingers is always back here, which for me it is. So that's why these buttons don't really make a big difference for me.
Right, right.
It's just when you pick up other LG devices and the buttons on the side, that's when it
screws you up.
Yep. But by keeping those buttons off the side, they can make the
Yep.
Bezels a lot thinner, give you more screen, and not make a bigger phone.
I actually like them on the back. A lot of people hate it, but I love it.
And the
Yeah.
5.5 inches might be a little bit too big for some people, but
If
It's
it's
not
just a little bit bigger than the G2, then I'll be fine with it. 5.5 inches, like with the Note 2, that was just too big for me at that time. But then now I have a 5.2 inch device as my daily driver.
right. And like the OnePlus One is a 5.5 inch screen, but it's as big as the Note 3.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
phone is giant. So,
It's got even bigger bezels.
yep. But disappointing news. We saw specs leak out on the G3, and it's pretty much everything that we expected, except doesn't have an 805, a Snapdragon 805. It's just a Snapdragon 801.
Yeah, I was kind of sad to see that. Since the G2 has an 800 already. It's like there's not much of a need to upgrade because it's not that much of a bump.
Well, and the problem is that 2K display. It's got a 2560 by 1440 display,
Yes.
and the processor's not when you're now for just regular day-to-day use. It'll probably be okay, but it's a lot of pixels to push, and when you start looking at doing any kind of gaming or even like multitasking, but particularly with playing games, anything that's graphics heavy, that 801 might not be able to,
Yeah.
what you don't want to happen is have it lag, and there's a good chance that it's going to. It's disappointing.
Exactly. It's 50% more pixels than a 1080p screen. So you have a processor that is really only about 200 megahertz faster than the Snapdragon 800 that powers the G2, but a screen that's 50% more pixels to push. So we're talking maybe a 5%, performance increase at best between the 800 and the 801, and 50% more pixels to push.
Then you got the same size battery as the G2, so battery life is not going to be the same.
Yep.
I mean, I'd like to be wrong, but just when you got that many more pixels and about 0.3 inches bigger screen, and the battery's the same size, I don't know.
Yeah, your processor is going to be pushing harder more often.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's just, I really hope that LG can work some magic with this. I'm afraid there's no way to get around the math.
Yeah, the thing to remember here, though, is that the Korean models of like the G2 and all that stuff usually have different specs than the international one. Like we get over here, like the G2 in Korea, it had a removable battery that goes like a 2600 milliamp battery. Had a micro SD card slot, had a few other things. And of course, ours over here had a larger non-removable battery, no micro SD card slot. So we might see different specs, but as far as like the processor goes, I'm not sure if we're gonna see a different one over here because usually the processor is the same. It's just like the battery and SD card and stuff like that that's different.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that changing, unfortunately.
I mean, I can hope, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Sure.
I still think they should have waited till around August when, about a month before when they did it last year, because then the 805 should be ready, and they can just push out the G Pro 2 right now. Because I know there's a lot of people waiting for that.
And that's the thing is with the G3 already hitting the States, we probably won't see the G Pro 2 make it stateside.
Yep.
Maybe, unlocked GSM versions online will work with AT&T or T-Mobile, but it's not going to be a situation where a carrier is going to stock it now,
Yep.
Which is unfortunate because it's a great phone.
The specs are pretty much the same. Well, even the screen size is the same, I think. Isn't it?
I think it's a 5.9.
5.9?
Yeah,
it's not that much of a difference.
Mm-mm.
No, it's
Probably
the
with the
lines are
same
getting
size,
blurred.
too. It's probably the same size, too, with their bezels.
Yep.
Unless they went like they did on the LG L35, where it's like a 3.2-inch device with bezels that make it the same size as the G2.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I don't know what was up with that.
That one's bizarre.
It's like the top bezel is as big as the rest of the screen.
Yeah.
And the logo doesn't even take up all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
That was weird.
Did that happen to you guys too?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking my internet
Interesting.
connection. I'm like, what did I do? Kick the power supply to my router? Like, what?
Google is doing some updates.
Oh man.
Oh
That they
man.
just said this broadcast ended because of server error,
Yep.
but it's still going, so I guess they lied to us.
Picked right back. Well, Nick and I were talking about this before the show started, because Alex, you were having issues getting logged on. That Hangouts is just acting funny tonight. So he mentioned that there are people that will track Google's the temperature of their servers to see how hot they're running.
Yeah, and when they're gonna be doing updates and stuff.
Yep, because it's a good indicator of that they're doing something. And tonight,
Usually when stuff starts breaking, that's when updates are coming, because it's usually because of I/O coming.
Yeah.
yep. So what we're seeing with issues with Hangouts tonight is because Google's doing stuff. So, yeah. But
we
we're
had
back.
the 805 thing is what we're gonna jump to, right?
Yep. So
Because
talk
I'm
to us
excited
about
about this.
We're not going to see it in the G3, unfortunately, but yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I'm wondering when we're gonna see this because originally, Qualcomm said they were gonna start shipping these out in May. Actually, I think they said we were gonna see them in devices shipping out in May. So they're obviously a little behind schedule if the G3 does not have it in there. But basically, besides the whole 50% more pixels thing, it seems like if LG were putting an 805 in here, basically the 805 is another slightly boosted CPU. So it's the same CPU that's in the 800 and the 801, just another 200 megahertz faster than the 801. But it's a brand new GPU. So basically, this GPU allows the processor to be 20% more power efficient and 40% faster. So basically, it would have completely negated that whole pixel boost in the G3. And then, again, with the battery life, even with the same size battery, you probably would have seen better battery life just as a result of that processor change. And then, as far as the features go, they're getting pretty crazy with these things because the Adreno 420, which is the first in the 400 series now on this, pushes a full DirectX 11 and OpenGL 3.1 spec. So you have things like tessellation, geometry shaders, compute shaders, all kinds of things that you're pushing on PC and like PS4, Xbox One hardware on these processors. And obviously it's not as powerful as those machines, but you're seeing feature parity now. So we'll probably see more, Unreal Engine 4 multi-platform type of stuff with these new processors.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
Hopefully the devices in the fall will come out with the 805 because so I'm guessing maybe the Note 4 and I don't know what else is going to come out this fall because LG's doing theirs now.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if the Note 4 didn't have the 805.
Well, in the US. Outside it'll probably be an Exynos.
Whatever. Exynos outside,
New
exactly.
octa-core processor.
Yep.
Have 16 cores in there.
Why not?
And still lag.
And TouchWiz will still lag.
4 quad-core
TouchWiz. Silly. Yeah,
Doesn't
and then
the Galaxy K Zoom has like a is it 6 core or 10 core? I think
it's a hexacore. It's a 6.
Yeah, it's like a quad core and a dual core.
Yep, exactly. Big little. And then,
literally.
Speaking of big little, the Snapdragon 808 and 810 is supposed to come out end of the year, which are both will be Qualcomm's first big little chips. So that's the same thing where the 808 was it 808? I'm trying to remember now. I think the 808 was the 6 core and the 810 was the octa core.
Yep.
Both of which are 64-bit chips.
And over the weekend, last weekend, I think Saturday, it leaked stated that one of the first Android Silver devices from LG is going to have, I forget the model number for the processor, but I looked it up and it's basically the Snapdragon 810, which that's supposed to come out in February, so maybe we won't see much of the Snapdragon 805.
Exactly. So the 810, it seems like Qualcomm does in every other thing. So the 810 and the 808 will have the same GPU as the 805, probably just, again, bumped up in speed. But that's the one that'll have the brand new CPU.
Yep.
So, will be interesting to see.
It's exciting stuff, man. And it's right around the corner.
I mean,
Yes.
you think the Snapdragon 800 is pretty powerful. Just wait till you can get the 805 and 810 and 808.
Well, and that's the thing too, is because Qualcomm has kind of changed their naming conventions. We're not
Yeah.
getting, now you got the Snapdragon, 200, 400, 600, 800, and now we're getting these incremental numbers, 801, 805, 808, 810, but they're still big jumps.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still, it doesn't
It's just-
sound as much, but they can't keep going to what, the Snapdragon 1000, 1200, 1400. So they
Snapdragon
just
Just give
20
me the
million.
Snapdragon 1500 and I'll be good.
There you
right.
go.
The only thing is the name is confusing because like the 808, you'd think with all the 8s in there it'd be an octa-core, not a hexa-core processor.
Yes. It
Like,
should have called it 806, right?
like
Right.
even if they put like the hexa-core in the 600 family,
Yep.
But then they messed up the naming. What, CES 2013 when they announced the 600 and 800.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even the
So-
Snapdragon 400 is pretty powerful considering it's for mid-range devices and low-end stuff. Because it's in the it was an HTC One Mini last year, and I think it's in the One Mini 2 this year as well. And it was pretty powerful
Yeah, it's not bad.
compared
Right,
to
right.
like the pricing that they're selling those at. I think the Moto G has it too. I think.
Yes, it does. So, yeah, some pretty good updates coming. Exciting times on the processor side. And if you don't nerd out on that, that's okay. We do. We saw some pretty good app updates, too, this week. We mentioned this, but I'll just hit on this again. The Moto 360 pricing, while we're still on hardware stuff, should be priced at $249. We may see it at $199, but I think we're seeing it at $249 according to the fine print on this contest.
Yeah, Motorola came out today and basically said that they don't know what it's going to be priced at yet, and now it's just an estimate because I had to put that down for the contest for tax purposes and stuff.
And it might be
They
like an
wouldn't just put
MSRP.
down- yeah, they wouldn't just put down a random number.
Right.
I hope
Because
it's
they
that
actually
cheap.
down like $99.
Give it to me now.
A lot of times you'll see the, suggested manufacturer retail price.
Yeah.
And then it will actually sell for a little bit lower than that. So we might see it
I
at
just
$199.
hope
But
the availability isn't as scarce as the rumors have been saying. They've been saying it's going to be pretty hard to get one, which I hope is untrue.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if that's just speculation since it's a new form factor. People are just like, oh, it's not going to be available.
Yeah.
Nobody else has a round screen.
right, and that's you think we would have seen manufacturers making these parts, where
Yeah.
see that stuff coming through, because we see it anytime there's a new phone, anytime there's a new Android phone or iPhone. They're like, oh, these these cases, the casing is being made by, or the screen, the displays are, or the glass on the front, and we haven't seen or heard any of that stuff. So
Yeah, because I think LG got the contract from Apple to make their displays now, so Samsung's not doing it.
yeah, I'm not surprised at that. But the Moto 360, we also heard it's supposed to launch in July, which
And
makes
that-
sense right after I/O if Android Wear is announced at I/O.
The contest ends June 24th, and I/O starts June 25th.
Right.
So there you go.
So
It's
the
basically
hardware's
just for watch faces. I'm pretty sure they're going to open up they might open up like a category, and I don't know if they're going to do a separate app store for Android Wear or just do Google Play Store, for watch faces and stuff like that and different apps.
yeah, it's hard to tell.
We'll probably learn more at I/O because it seems like there's going to be a lot of Android Wear stuff, which I'm not surprised at.
Oh, absolutely. But let's hit a couple of these app updates. And new stuff that's just in apps this week, and then we'll do some what's new in your Android world and wrap things up here. Google Plus was updated with a really big update. So we mentioned this before that this stuff was in the works before Vic left, but this update is pretty sweet. Auto Awesome Stories. If you haven't received the update yet, just go into the Play Store. I think it's available for everybody now.
Yeah, it's pushing out now.
Yeah, so it was announced like 2 days ago, and I got it the 20th. So, but it basically takes photo and video based on location and time, and builds you a like story for it. So let me see if I have one available here. I can pull up and show you. So my wife and I we live in Richmond, Virginia, and we went down and visited some family about a month ago. And so let me see if I can get this in focus here. But I took a bunch of pictures. My kids just like playing and stuff. We went fishing, but it gives you the location, shows you kind of where you traveled to and from, and then there's pictures from the trip. So my kids playing in the yard. These are all photos that I took. We found a toad or out playing, and it puts them together like really nicely. You can tap on the image, and it'll pull it up bigger. I was really impressed with these pictures that came out of my Nexus 4 too, but you can look me up on Google Plus if you want to see these a little more high res. But puts all these photos together just kind of in a timeline. And then we went to my mother-in-law's house. This is over Easter weekend, and then we went to my father-in-law's, and they had an Easter egg hunt. But basically, it just takes all these pictures and puts them together in like a storyboard, and with the location and everything. Then we went back. So we went back to my mother-in-law's, and we went fishing on an inlet off the Chesapeake Bay. But just based on that weekend trip over Easter, it took all those pictures, put them together in chronological order. It's just really, really sweet. It goes back years. I've got pictures from trips like 2 and 3 years ago.
Yep.
It's like Auto Awesome Movies, but for specific events. Whether it's just a one day, you're out for the afternoon, or a whole week or 2 weeks vacation. It's really, really, really cool.
You know what's really amazing about it, and
It's
this,
just hard to believe Google Plus has been around that long.
yeah, I know.
Well, no, it's not necessarily from Google Plus. It's just any pictures or video that you have uploaded. So stuff that I've got auto backup from years ago.
Yep. Yeah, for mine, the one that was craziest for me, okay, back in summer of 2011, my wife and I went to Ireland, okay, and, going outside of the U.S., I wasn't going to take my smartphone because I don't want to pay data and all that stuff out there. So we went and rented a little, cheapo phone to use out there just for phone calls if we needed to in emergencies. And all the pictures are taken off of a regular SLR, doesn't have GPS or anything like that. And somehow, I have all these photos on auto backup. Somehow Google has figured out where all these pictures were taken, and it has sorted them all by location and all that stuff, and it has days and locations and all that crap in there. And I'm like, I don't know whether to be excited about this or freaked out about the fact that they figured out where I am, and I have no location data on those pictures.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And I didn't even think about that. I don't.
And it's super. It's like oh, these pictures were in Bantry Bay. I'm like, what the crap? How does it know this?
I don't turn on location data on my photos, but I didn't question the location stuff because I had my phone with me, so Google knows where I am anyways.
Exactly.
But that's hilarious that on an SLR that it wasn't even your phone. Your Android phone was here in the States.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's very interesting. So I know they use like 3 different methods of figuring it out. What I heard, I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but one of them has to do with their visual image search, which I think kind of goes hand in hand. If you remember, what is it, Google Goggles? I don't know if that's still around or not, but I think that sort of thing is used along with like Google Maps location data and all that. So they just have crazy services that talk to each other. I'll tell you what.
And that makes sense if they've got Street View data for a restaurant or a pub or a coffee shop when you guys were in Ireland, and they can locate it and say, oh, these pictures are from, and then just use that as a starting point and group them.
I should pull it up while we're talking just to show you.
That's nuts, man.
That's good.
So while you're pulling that up, I'm gonna hit. There were some of these other updates too to the Google Plus app. Auto Awesome Movies are now available on Android, iOS, and the web. So you will get you'll have highlight reels created from stuff that's on the web now, or if you have an iOS device, it's not just the Google Plus app on Android making Auto Awesome Movies, which is pretty cool because I don't necessarily want to carry that all on my phone. Usually I'll make the Auto Awesome Movies and then upload them to Google Plus and delete them off my phone. You can create animated GIFs and photo booth style images on demand. So this is like Auto Awesome photos, but it's not auto.
That I didn't actually know about. That's sweet.
You do it yourself, yeah. So you can pick out the photos or the video, or and make the photo booth prints with the multiple images, or make the animated GIFs yourself, which is pretty cool. You select either motion or mix to make those two options, but pretty cool. It's like a do-it-yourself awesome photo instead of an auto awesome photo.
I'm trying to say, of course my screen went off. Nice job.
Yeah.
There we go. Focus camera. Look. Limerick, Ennis killing Bushmills. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yep, off of photos from an
and it had stuff there. It's got 21 moments. It's got the date. It's got all that. I mean, obviously, figure out the date from the camera, but whatever.
Yeah, some of it can pull from the EXIF data, but if you don't have location on, that's that's wild, man.
It's very cool.
You can browse your whole photo library and your highlights by date with a scroll bar, so that's pretty cool. They changed the navigation a bit too, and the UI, so it's cleaner. I really like the new UI a lot, but they also split up the apps. So it used to be there was like the hamburger menu down the side that you could open, and you would see all of your. Let me see if I can get this pulled up.
So, it's kind of annoying now because I'm used to swiping in instead of tapping at the top.
Right, so they just moved it up to the top. So if you go into Photos and you swipe in from the side, you get the hamburger menu, right? And that's what you used to have in Google Plus. With Google Plus, Photos, Auto Awesome, Albums, or Videos. They took that out of the Google Plus app now. And obviously it's still there in Photos, but if you tap up at the top, you get the menu instead. But it's not quite the same.
I personally don't like it. Just that section of removing the left pull-out menu. I really wish I had that still.
I don't either, because now with the Google Plus app, if you tap at the top, it gives you like this drop-down, and the photos are still there at the bottom, or locations or events. You can still jump into that stuff, but
it's just a separate app.
Yeah, it's not as intuitive, and it doesn't fit with the way their guidelines have been set with that hamburger style menu for a long time.
It's very strange. Like, I don't even know where to find anything anymore. I'm lost every time I use this thing now.
Right,
but
right.
I like the color bar on the top. I'm enjoying that trend. They updated Keep with that a couple weeks ago, and we knew that was coming because of the whole Project Hera thing. But it's good to see it in practice. Looks really nice.
Yep. So Google Plus, that update. There were like 3 or 4 more things that I didn't even hit on. But it's a pretty big update. So lots of cool stuff going on there. There were a couple other things too. Oh, HBO. Those shows are now on Amazon Instant Video. So if you're into anything on HBO, it's not everything. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not current episodes or current seasons of shows like True Blood, Boardwalk Empire. It's only some of them. It's not all of them.
I think what they said is they're going to be adding more over time. Like, there's only a few shows on there now, but there's going to be more, like, in the next 6, 12 months or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the HBO Go app is still on its way for the Kindle Fire, so it's mostly just the Fire TV and, web.
Yep. Which is cool because then you can stream Game of Thrones and stuff on HBO Go. But full seasons of The Sopranos and The Wire and Deadwood and 6 Feet Under. So lots of cool stuff there. It sucks that there's still not an instant video app for Android available in the Play Store that works with everything. But
yeah, I don't
especially
get
now that they're getting some pretty good content on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. They need to get with that. I know they want to sell Kindle Fires, but come on, guys.
Well,
And they're
why is
shutting
it
out.
available? It's available on iPad and iPhone, so
Yep.
that's an excuse.
They're
Yep.
just being silly.
There is one for Google TV, an Amazon Instant Video app for Google TV.
Yeah.
If you've got a Google TV and you want to use it. So, but other than that, you're stuck streaming it from the website. But those shows are there. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is a pretty big deal it's been on iOS for a long time. I say a long time, a couple of months. But this app called Secret. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's pretty fun.
It's basically like an anonymous social network. You can post stuff anonymously and nobody will know it's you. You can comment on it and everything. Only way, like if you post something and then you comment on it later, it'll just say the author. It won't say like your name or anything. It gives you like different kinds of icons too. And like every post you comment on, you have a different icon. So it's even harder to tell who is who. Like there's like different shapes and different colors for the icons and stuff. There's some crazy stuff in there.
It keeps it now. It's kind of like there was a website years ago where people would send in postcards, and on the postcard they'd send it in anonymously, but they would say things like, "I hate my job, but I can't find, it's the best thing I can find, and I have a family to support," or like goofy stuff like. One of these ones on Secret says, "Until today, I carried around an old iPhone just to use Secret." Or my friend's children gross me out. Like just stuff that you would not. It wouldn't necessarily be socially acceptable to say, face to face to somebody, or even over like Facebook or Twitter, where it's identifiable. So some of it is.
For me, it's been pretty entertaining. I've found some pretty funny stuff on there.
Dude, so
I'm trying it now.
And it searches.
I thought it was pretty stupid, but
either
after using it for a little bit, I think it's pretty funny and pretty good idea.
It searches your contact list by either phone number or email address. You can invite friends if friends haven't used it. When I first signed on, I had like 6 friends, and I invited a couple of people, and some more people joined up that I didn't invite, and now I've got like 14 or 15 friends on it.
Yeah, I tried to put in my whole like address book from Gmail, and there's like so many people in there. A lot of people I probably shouldn't invite, like people from ASUS and HTC and those guys.
Yep. Yeah, but it's
even the invitations don't say who invited you. It just says a friend invited you to Secret, because I got somebody invited me. I don't even know who it was.
Yep.
This is very interesting. I'm just scrolling through it now. I like the UI design a lot. It's really clean.
Yeah, and it's not like Google standards either, which is surprising that I like it.
I'm trying to figure out what the heck I just did. I swiped on something and added a heart. Interesting. Okay, yeah, it's definitely not Google standards.
Swipe left or right, it likes the picture. If you go right to left, it opens up like a menu for. That's not working on this one for me.
Some of these are really sad.
Some of them are.
Gosh. This is awful. It's like I'm not sure if I want to read this because it's just going to make me depressed.
Yeah. I hate overly happy people.
Here's one that kind of pertains to what we're talking about.
What's it say?
It says, what is this? I got to switch to his real quick. It Says IO is going to involve lots of sex and alcohol. Be prepared.
Oh yeah. No, what's cool is though is there have been some rumors and leaks that have popped up just on Secret, and there have been some that have been like people baiting, deliberately saying things about different new tech that's coming out. It's totally not true, but it sounds true. There have been some stuff that has been true, but again, it's all anonymous.
This could be like the best way to leak stuff out for us now.
Right,
Because you can
right.
leak it out and nobody knows who you are.
Yep.
This is like a social network for leakers.
Yep. And you can put images behind some of that stuff too. So
Yep.
some of them will have it's just the text on a colored background. Some of them will have like it gives you the option to upload a photo or snap one yourself if you happen to be out somewhere and want to take a picture or something.
Interesting.
So it's kind of ridiculous, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It's more fun if you got friends that are using it, because then you're trying to guess who says stuff and like who it is. Now, some of my contacts, I'm sure that it's pulled from. I've got contacts in here that are like a decade old, from jobs, when I worked at AT&T and Verizon 6, 8, 10 years ago. So.
Some of these are so good. I love this one. If I could flip a switch and have every human on the planet die instantly, I'd probably do it. I generally think we'd be better off dead. I'm just gonna favorite that one because it's great.
Yep. So they're ridiculous.
Beyond ridiculous. Good way to end this. I like this. Nice.
Yep.
Now I'm happy.
So, and that's one of my what's new in your Android world. We'll segue into that pretty equally. It's pretty.
That was one of mine too.
Yep, since Secret came out, I've been using it. It's pretty funny.
Well, thanks for the insight. I like it.
Yes, dude, it's great. It's great.
Like I said, at first I thought it was pretty stupid, but after using it for a couple minutes, it turned into like an hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go share this with some people and see how much new stuff I get.
Yep. And it categorizes it by friends, or the other one is explore, and it's just stuff that might be close to you. I've gotten a bunch of stuff from Virginia, but I've gotten some stuff from like Malaysia and London and around the world. So they just pull in random ones in that Explore tab.
I think they use like your Google Plus friends and stuff too. Because I think I signed in with like Google Plus or when I first signed in.
Did you?
So I'm guessing it pulls like your Google Plus friends too, which for me that's a lot of people.
Right. So Secret is one. I've also been using. I just found this afternoon. AC display, and I might be a little bit behind on this, but this is kind of like active display.
Yep, I've heard about it. How is it on battery?
I've only had it installed for like 4 or 5 hours, so I haven't really been able to tell. It's not showing up in my battery stats as an app that's really crushing my battery. So.
Yeah. Because there are other apps like Active Display that came out like right after the Moto X did, but it just it used so much battery on different devices that weren't optimized for it.
Well, the thing with AC Display is once you turn it on, if you get a new notification, it doesn't automatically light up the whole screen. It waits until you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So when you pull it out of your pocket or pick it up off the desk, then the display kicks on. So there's a split-second delay. I'm used to picking up my phone and immediately hitting the power button so the screen lights up.
Yeah.
So I may not use an AC Display for very long, but we'll see.
Because the main reason why it doesn't use a whole lot of battery on the Moto X is AMOLED, because it only lights up certain pixels.
Right.
But I do wish that it didn't keep flashing on and off all the time, because it's pretty annoying when you're not looking
just out of the side of your corner of your eye and you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you have a missed call and you're like, I know who that is. I don't want to deal with it right now.
Yep. The other one that I found was called CM Apps, and it lets you install signage and mod apps. Just the apps. No root required. But like Voice Plus, if you use Google Voice, the Apollo Music Player, Camera Next. So specific CyanogenMod apps, if you like Trebuchet, their launcher, or even just the like file manager or the CyanogenMod wallpapers, you can install those specific APKs. Some of the stuff like Voice Plus or Camera Next only works on devices that are running 4.3 and up, and it tells you that. But I thought it was pretty cool because I've been playing with the camera a little bit, and I like the Apollo music player.
Is that the new CM camera that comes with the OnePlus One, or is it the older one?
It's the new one.
Yeah,
Camera Next.
Yes. Yeah, I've been using that on my S3 for work because I have CM on that, and it's pretty sweet.
It is,
really
yeah.
Enjoying it, and it's fast. It's really easy to use. I don't know. It's just a great camera app.
I've been comparing it to the new Google Camera app, and it's pretty much on par with it.
Yep, absolutely.
CM apps, you can go get that.
I don't think that's going to be in the Play Store much longer because Google doesn't like apps to download other apps.
Right. They might pull it.
It'll probably be sideload only pretty soon.
But it's there for now, so.
Yep.
And then there was one other one that I was using before. Whoop, static. What is that? What else was I using? Or did I find?
I have no idea.
Oh, Cloud Amps. I found this from XDA. A post on XDA. It's a music streaming app that ties into either your Box.net account or Google Drive, or you can pick what you want it to. So my Google Music, I pay for all access, but my Google Music, the like 20,000 tracks that they give you, is full and has been for a long time. But I still have new music. In addition to writing for Android Headlines, I write some music reviews from Metal Site, and I've always gotten like new music stuff that's coming out soon, and I gotta write reviews about it. And I can't upload it to Google Music, so I've just been throwing it in my Box account. I've got like 50 gigs of storage on Box. So this Cloud Amps with a Z, will let me stream from Box. So pretty cool. There's a free version, and I think the premium version was $1 in the Play Store. So I just set that up like yesterday. I haven't really played with it a whole lot, but bunch of new apps this week. What about you, Nick?
Well, besides now knowing about Secret, my big thing in the past week has been this absolutely amazing game that came out called Monument Valley. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. If not, now you are. It's $4, and if anybody out there has ever played Fez or anything sort of like it, kind of reminds me of Fez meets MC Escher. You know, the artist MC Escher, the guy who does the crazy stairways all over the place and optical illusions and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it's really interesting looking, it's really clean, and it's short too. It's like you could blow through it in like an hour. The guy said he's making more levels, do a couple of download things, whatever, but it's been a phenomenal experience for me, and I usually hate smartphone gaming. So I don't know. I like it because it's simple. There's not any complicated controls. They're not trying to replicate a controller on your touch-only phone, which drives me nuts. And I don't know. The design is just excellent. I would highly, highly recommend it for anybody who likes artsy games, adventure games, or whatever. It's fantastic. And make sure you play with music on, because that's like half the experience.
The music's that good?
Yeah, it's just really nice environmental music. I don't know, like it really sets the mood well. It's just got great sound design. I imagine this would be a perfect example of why you want boom sound on your phone.
That's awesome.
So I think that's about it for me. I don't think I've had anything else going on with it.
Well, for me, I've got a new Super widget. It's basically Android Wear, or it's supposed to be. So you got the clock, weather, missed calls, text messages, and then the battery percentage. I just changed the text so it's all Roboto condensed, but it's really sweet looking Super widget. I think it's like $1. It's actually called Android Wear. That's the actual name of the widget. I also started using Today, which is a calendar app. Here it is. So as you can see, it's kind of got like the Google Plus new UI type thing, but I like it a lot better than Google Calendar, and the widget's pretty awesome too. Then I have this is kind of like a smartwatch, but with a speaker from BEM Wireless.
Oh, you got that in the Bluetooth speaker watch.
Yeah, I haven't used it that much, but the sound's actually kind of good. And what else? I've got some screen protectors for like the Galaxy S5. Basically, you stick the Galaxy S5 inside here, and then you put the screen protector on. So it helps you get it like in there straight without any air bubbles and stuff. Which the Galaxy S5 is about to go back. That's why I don't have it here to show.
Nice.
And then we have the LG Lucid 3 from Verizon. It's XLTE, except for not over here. And the Kyocera Hydro Vibe, I think it is, on Sprint. It's waterproof, all that good stuff. These are both 4.7-inch QHD displays, which actually don't look too bad, surprisingly. And that's it for me.
Sweet. Good deal. Well, on that note, we will wrap up the Android Headline Show, episode 60. We ran kind of long tonight, but we had fun. A lot to talk about. Go download the podcast. We host it on Podomatic. You can find it on iTunes, or search for us on Pocket Casts or Stitcher. You can find us at, obviously, AndroidHeadlines.com, but also on Twitter, at Android Headline, Google+, Facebook. We're there. You can hit us up, send us emails, whatever you want us to talk about. Let us know. That's why we do this. Is we enjoy talking about this stuff, but we want to talk about stuff that you care about. It's not all about us. So whatever we can do to make the show better, let us know. We definitely appreciate the feedback. But Nick, Alex, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out tonight, guys.
Not a problem.
Indeed. See you later.
See ya.